Hello there, welcome to my channel, Maze's Life, where I'm terrible at managing money, but trying to get better. So on this channel, I am documenting my financial journey. That includes debt, net worth, goals, setbacks, as well as me enjoying my life. Because even though I'm on this debt payoff journey and I'm doing it pretty well compared to my failed previous ones, I still go out and do things, have a little bit of a balance, if you will. But I started off with $72,000 of debt this time around. I have had more debt than that in the past, but I started off with $72,000 of debt in September 2023. And I have always been trying to pay off my debt successfully. I didn't really start accumulating debt until the summer of 2020. So as you can imagine, I think I've had at most like $85,000 worth of debt in the year 2022. So I'm currently filming these videos to show, the progress that I've made since then, as I'm currently struggling really badly with, just the regret of not only having debt, but the regret of having to put money towards debt instead of what my friends are spending money towards, like going out and trips and travels and all the things that I want to do, but that I can't do because I have debt. So I'm just posting these videos as motivation, because I have another year and a half at least before I pay off the remainder of my debt. If you want to see the breakdown of what debts I have, you can see my debt confession videos. In my last net worth video, I go into detail about different net worth categories and how I created them for myself based off of several different YouTubers and their different net worth categories that they created for themselves. And for today's video, I wanted to just go over an update of where I am. And so let's go ahead and let's get started. Let's get into it. So just a refresher, if you missed the last video that I did, different net worth categories help set different stages of where you are in your net worth journey, and I created my own for me. I mean, you can use them if you would like, but I created my own based off of how I thought that they would work for me. And everyone's stage names are different, but the common theme that I noticed is that growth happens in stages. So I gave those stages the names that I thought were relevant for my life. And when I started this system, I was at level 0. I think I'm the only YouTuber that I saw that did like a level 0. But for me, level 0 literally was the bottom. And that was a stage that I titled dependent. And I titled that because I was living a lifestyle that I could not afford, and every single month I could not pay all of my minimum bills, my grocery bills, my utilities, my rent. I went into debt every single month on my credit cards. You can see that with my debt confession videos as well, just constantly going into the negative because I could not afford the lifestyle that I was currently living at that time. That dependent stage, I counted from the time I was 18, so March 2015 until December of 2023, maybe January 2024, because either I was relying on my parents or I was relying solely off of debt. Once I graduated college, I no longer relied on my parents, and none of my bills to this date that they pay for. I still use their Amazon Prime account occasionally. I have my own Amazon account, but they have Prime, so I use that occasionally. But that is where I got to the point to where I was still independent, even though I wasn't relying on my parents, but I had in the past. Now I was relying on credit cards. Then, as I alluded to, in January 2024, something changed. That was I got a roommate. If you watch my other videos, I go into detail how I got that roommate. I'm not gonna go into it here, but it did take a lot of pressure off of my monthly expenses. My rent was lower, my utilities were lower, my bills were lower, my stress probably higher because of the roommate situation that I had. But then in the end of January 2024, with the first paycheck being in March 2024, I got a second job. It was a seasonal job, and it worked great with my hours because I still have a 9 to 5. And also with my job at the time as a tax collector, I could only have certain types of jobs that weren't conflicting, if you will. I couldn't work, jobs that could be considered there's a specific word for it. It's not coming to mind, but it's like when I have some sort of interest in the job, or it could benefit some way, somehow with my tax collection job. I couldn't work any of those. And there's a long list, surprisingly, but I was able to get a job and working in a parking lot as called on flagger. So I just show people where to park. It was seasonal, but it was income that I desperately needed. And it was a nice change of pace, being able to pick my hours and not have to stress about working every single day of the week, because it was 1 week on, 1 week off. But it finally put me in a position where I didn't have to think every single month, like, which one of my expenses are going to have to be put on a credit card this month. And it was usually my groceries. Groceries was usually the thing that I could pay with a credit card. My rent, I can't pay with a credit card, I pay with a check. So my groceries were typically the things that went on a credit card. And I need groceries, obviously. But that second job in that roommate kind of moved me into the second stage, which was survival. And survival's exactly what it sounds like. I am living paycheck to paycheck, still in debt, still with a large negative net worth, but I don't have to, constantly increase my credit card debt every month. The entire time I worked that entire seasonal period, my credit card debt went mostly down. If you watch my debt confessions, you'll see why. But it went mostly down. All right, then I stayed in that survival category, that survival mode, for a fairly long time, from January 2024 until April 2025, which was my video yesterday, my April 2025 debt confessions. And I worried, especially after my roommate moved out. He moved out in October 2024, but he didn't pay rent or any bills for that month because he moved out, I think, the 3rd or the 5th of that month. And then also, that was about the time I received my last paycheck for my seasonal job, because my seasonal job had ended in September, but I got the paycheck, the last one, in October. And I was struggling for a bit there. Per my debt confessions videos, I had to readjust my budgeting again to make sure that I could stay in that survival mode and no longer go back into the dependent mode where I was depending on credit cards. In 2024, I made significant progress. It was the most progress I had ever made paying off debt. I believe I paid off over $16,000 in 2024. You can see that in my financial milestone video, exactly how much I paid off, but I believe it was over $16,000. But I put way more than that into debt. You can see that with my yearly spending plan video. I put, I think, $38,000 towards my debt, but only $16,000 got paid off, and that's because of how much went to interest. So, but in 2024, I created not just financial progress, but I created progress creating new disciplines, learning how to follow a budget and stick to a budget. My budget still gets updated. I still have a lot to learn with my budget, but at least I was able to stick to one for an entire year, which was a first. I normally stop after March because that's when my birthday is, and that's when I go a little crazy. I don't know why I just did all that. But I held the line mostly and I was able to stick in that survival mode and no longer have to dip back into the previous category of dependent. All right, and which that brings me with today's video. So as of May 2025, I'm now in the third category, which is level 2. I could start off level 0, but I'm now in the third category, which is the turning point. So this category marks in my adult life where I have a little bit of extra money every single month to go towards debts, like extra debt payments, savings, like sinking funds, even though I've yet to start putting anything towards savings and sinking funds. That's probably like a budget that I mentioned, just a moment ago, that I'm still learning how to handle. I don't know how to save and account for that on my budget, but then account for when I have to use those savings in my budget. I haven't figured that out because then I feel like I'm double counting money. So if you know how, and you can give me any advice of how to track my savings. I don't know how to, I know it sounds so juvenile, but it just doesn't make sense for me because I'm counting the money when it comes in, but then I'm also counting the money again when I spend it. And this is emergency fund savings where I would never touch it. This would be savings for Christmas, savings for car maintenance, because as of right now, whenever I have car maintenance, I have to use the money that I have in that month. I can't just save, $20 every single month. I have to spend all, like it's over $100 for an oil change. It's over 200 something bucks for the registration, all in that month. And I don't know how to count that, but it's something to learn. I'll figure out one of these days. But most importantly, this is like the first month where I had the extra money, and it's not extra money from like skipping groceries for a week. I would oftentimes have to do that, or just skip groceries to pay for other things. Which is, I still had a pantry full of food. It would just be beans and rice and beans and ramen. But this honestly feels surreal. Like, okay, yeah, I finally made it. And I'm hoping that this is the turning point to help me with motivation. So future me, when I'm looking back on these videos, uses this motivation for keeping on with my debt payoff journey. And then even once I'm done paying off debt, I have to save it for my emergency funds, I have to save it for a home, I have to save it for big life expenses, retirement, etc., etc. But seeing myself get into a different category is surreal, and I am feeling like this is the beginning of something better. I'm feeling that way, and hopefully it is that way. But yeah, so that's currently where I am with my net worth journey. Still negative. How negative is it? If you watch my financial milestone video, you'll see how negative it is. And maybe I'll do one for my next video. No, in 2 videos. That'll be my mid-year update. Sorry if you keep hearing that. I can hear my neighbor's doorbell go off. It's distracting me. But yes, and you'll see how much negative net worth I'm in, but at least I'm at the turning point to where now I can make some real progress. All right, so that's it for today's video. I am now where I am in my net worth journey. Thank you for following along. If you stayed to the end of the video, I'd love to have you join this financial journey with me. So if you can click the like, click subscribe, leave a comment down below, especially if you have any advice, whether it's regard to budgeting, that would be gratefully appreciated. But also, if you have any challenges as well, you can leave them down below. I love to read it, love to see what you all did and see where you all struggle as well. Maybe that can also help motivate me or someone else know that we're not going through it alone. But other than that, thank you, and until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.